Good morning, this is Lance, and today we're going to have a lot of fun with cooking and eating. Imagine that the grid has gone down, things are going bad, grocery stores are closed. You're going to have a lot of stress on your mind, so the last thing you want to do is add to that stress by being hungry. Today we're going to be looking at a number of different ways that you can cook delicious, simple, fun meals with the minimum of equipment and the minimum of perishable ingredients. So let's begin. There are many different ways that you can cook a meal. For breakfast, we'll be using this little portable butane burner. Let's assume that the electricity is out, so your electric stove's not going to work. Let's assume maybe there's an earthquake, so gas lines aren't going to provide gas to your gas stove. A lot of modern propane stoves or gas stoves that you have in your house also use complicated electronics and rely on electricity, so let's assume that none of those are going to work. So we're just going to use this little butane stove that we have here. Another option, as far as portable gas-based stoves go, would be something like one of these Coleman's, or there's other companies that make similar models. They're really neat, they work great. You can get them with multiple burners, and they'll use either a small little 1-pound propane canister, or you can hook them up to a big 500-gallon propane tank. One of the best things about these stoves is that they're really inexpensive. You can buy these stoves typically for 20 bucks or less. Walmart sells them, and Asian grocery stores have them. These canisters are only a couple bucks. You may want to pick up a few cases of them. What's really neat about them is they're a very efficient fuel source, butane. So you can buy a case of 24 of these cans and easily do a month's worth of cooking on that if you're frugal. So let's see what kind of breakfast we can cook with this little butane burner. We'll assume that fresh groceries aren't going to be available, that refrigeration is going to be difficult or not available at all. We'll assume that fresh water or any kind of water is not going to be really that available. That means we're going to be relying on dehydrated and freeze-dried foods. Canned meats are great to have around. Canned butters are great. Breads that don't require any type of refrigeration is great stuff to have around. Eggs can last a surprisingly long time when stored properly. To minimize water, cast iron is great, and minimizing the number of pots and pans you use, just use one big pan. A great thing about cast iron is that you can clean it without any water. So let's get cooking. We'll add some ghee butter, great for high temperature frying. And now we put in some canned corned beef. We're going to make food for 2 people here, so we'll save some of this canned corned beef later for another meal. And we've rehydrated our dehydrated potatoes, so we can add those right now. And put in a few spices, get some pepper in there. Put a little bit of salt in now, and then salt it to seasoning when we're done. Some more seasonings here. The hash is coming along nice. We're going to add a couple eggs right now. These are our own duck eggs, by the way. Really thick eggs. All right, eggs are coming along nicely. We're going to add a little sunflower seed bread here. This stuff is great. It's from Europe. It lasts for months without refrigeration. Really healthy bread too. And there you have it, 10 minutes later, delicious, wholesome corned beef hash. And the best part is, grab a couple paper towels or any kind of towel. Despite what people think about cast iron, it's actually really easy to clean up. Once you have a properly sealed pan, I mean, you can see there, that's it. It's ready to, we would wipe the rest of those crumbs out of there, but that's ready to cook on the next time. You don't need any water to clean it. Everything cooked in one pan. Boy, that was a great breakfast. I'm still a little bit full, but it's time for lunch, so let's start cooking. What we're going to use this afternoon is a rocket stove. A rocket stove uses wood, and it doesn't use much wood, as we're going to see. Rocket stoves come in all shapes and sizes. Some of them are real tiny, used for backpacking. They can even weigh just as little as 5 ounces. There's also huge ones that people build into their house for heating and cooking, and they can weigh several tons. We'll compromise. We'll use this one here. This is a big hunk of iron, weighs about 20 pounds, pretty indestructible. There's a lot of makers of rocket stoves out there. They're all pretty good. It's a pretty simple design. I like this one a lot because it's just a rugged little thing. We use it for truck camping, use it around the homestead. The cool thing about a rocket stove is they use very little fuel and it builds a small discrete fire. It's much safer if you have any sort of fire hazards than cooking on the ground over a bonfire, and also you're keeping a much lower profile. It's really neat. So anyways, let's light it up and then we can start cooking. The basic operating principle of a rocket stove is real simple. Air and fuel go in here, fire comes out here, and you have your pan set on top. You can use just about any kind of dried little sticks. You don't really want big pieces of wood, just small sticks work great. I'm going to use some birch bark that I gathered from the forest. It's a great tinder. If you don't have that, you can also just use paper balls. But let me show you the basic idea. We're going to grab a bunch of this birch bark here. This is really going to get the fire going. We'll stuff that in there. As we get the fire going, we'll be feeding the sticks through here, but just to start it out right now, we can put these sticks in the top right here. Shorten a couple of these things up, and we'll light it up and let those burn down, and then we'll feed our bigger sticks in through the front over there. And there we have it. There's a lot of videos and instruction out there on how to build fires, and boy, there's a lot of people coming up with a lot of complicated ways of lighting a fire. I love disposable lighters. Don't get any junky ones from China, but anything from America or Europe, fantastic quality. The things last just about for thousands of lights, and they're great. You can stash them in your pocket. You always have fire. Why make things difficult? It's good to know a lot of skill sets, but keep things simple when you can. It's kind of windy out here, so I'm going to try to light it inside there. And there we go. That's lit up. Let me put a couple more twigs in the top here. This thing will really get cooking soon. It starts to draw in air through here, and then it sends it out the top. It's a pretty neat concept. Again, you can build these things yourself. There's a lot of different designs. You can even dig a hole in the ground and have it in such a way, and we'll do that in the future as another video and show you how to make a rocket stove just out of literally dirt. So we're gonna let this thing burn down until those sticks fall down, until things burn out in here. And as that occurs, we'll start to put in some of these bigger pieces of wood we have in here. The neat thing about our rocket stove is you're not waiting for it to really warm up. You're not trying to build a layer of coals. You don't have to worry about that. It's not like a conventional cooking campfire. Literally within a few minutes, this thing's going to be ready to cook on. Okay, so that's good enough to put our pan on. What I'm going to use today is a cast iron pan. A rocket stove like this is really ideal with a cast iron pan. Cast iron diffuses heat. It cooks very evenly. If you were to put a thin aluminum pan on there, you'd get all kinds of different hot spots. It would be trickier to cook on. So this is definitely not lightweight cooking, but around the house, it's a fantastic way of doing it. All right, fire's going nicely. The pan's getting warmed up, so let's start cooking. For lunch, we got these wonderful venison burgers. We got these from our neighbor. They hunted the meat themselves, and this is from pork that they raised themselves. We also have some great pork lard. This was some raw fat that they gave us, and we rendered it down, so we're going to use that to fry everything up. All right, let's get the burgers in here. There we go, a nice sizzle. That's a great sound. And I'm going to go ahead and add these mushrooms as well. Put a little garlic in there. Venison's a pretty lean meat, but with the pork sausage mixed in there, it'll cook a little bit slower, have more fat in it. We're going to put a little bit of Worcestershire mix here. That'll be nice on the mushrooms. And let's get these mushrooms stirred up a bit. Take our onions, put these off to the side. Oh, this is looking good. And again, I'm just using those original little pile of sticks that you guys saw when we started out. This rocket stove uses surprisingly little fuel, very efficient cooking. And we'll take some of this nice European sunflower bread that we used for breakfast, and this is going to be our hamburger buns. This bread's great. It literally keeps in the wrapper unrefrigerated for months. Pretty fantastic stuff. And there we go. From the time we lit that first flame till now, it's been about 15 minutes. Still have a lot of flames left. We could do some more cooking. So we have some nice mustard for this. Mustard's great stuff. It keeps without refrigeration. We also have some wonderful sprouts that we sprouted ourselves. You can look that up. It's a great thing for some nice fresh greens. Again, you don't need any refrigeration. You always have fresh greens. Put some of these on here. A little tomato. Got some spinach here, and boy, how does that look? This is going to be a great lunch. Next up is dinner, and the best part is this is going to be the simplest meal of the day. We'll be making this nice little stew with these wonderful vegetables and our leftover canned corned beef. We're going to use a little chicken stock, and we're going to cook the whole thing using nothing more than the power of the sun. We've got our sun oven here. There's a lot of different sun ovens on the market. They're all really good. I'm going to be using the All-American, and all we do is flip this open like that, and we open this up like that, and there we go. Basically, it's collecting the sun, it's concentrating it, and we'll get you a picture inside once we put our vegetables and our stew inside, and we're gonna start cooking. We'll be using a cast iron enameled pan. That's going to be really nice for cooking in the sun oven, and it's going to make cleanup really easy. Here comes the carrots, some potatoes, and some celery, some onions. Here comes the rest of our beef left over from breakfast, and some chicken stock. Now we'll just open up the sun oven. We'll put our stew inside. It has its own leveling rack, so it automatically stays level. Close the lid, and for the next couple hours we can go about our chores and let the sun oven get dinner ready for us. Okay, it's been 3.5 hours, and this stew is done just in time too. Our sun started to die out for the evening. We're gonna pull that out of there and set it down. Let's check out this stew. Yeah, that's looking pretty good. We've got some dehydrated spinach here that'll give us vitamins and minerals. Everything that we cooked from here today was the canned meat, and then it was a lot of vegetables that can come from your cellar, so it's all food that's capable of long-term storage. We'll pour ourselves a bowl. Boy, that looks really nice. Look at that. Easy, simple dinner. So sun oven, when you cook with it, you don't have to worry about using fuel, you don't have to worry about using electricity, you don't have to worry about burning your house down. You really don't have to worry about anything. Stick the food in, go do some other stuff, come back, and there you go, it's done. Thanks for joining us today. As you can see, cooking off-grid can be a lot more fun, easy, and inexpensive than you may have thought.